This third online lecture will introduce you to the assessment tasks for the course. For assessment tasks in this course, and these are set so that you have several classes to build skills through workshops and at-home exercise. And then we assess you on those skills, and then you build up more skills, and then we assess you on those skills. And this is a means of reducing emphasis on one big assessment at the end of the course through a series of smaller, more manageable tasks that scatter throughout. So the first assessment is actually a collection of in-class workshops. And these run from week 1 through to week 8. They're each worth 2% to a maximum of 10%. And they involve drawing, model making and diagramming around the themes of the course and as a way to build up a set of ideas that will gradually be used in each of your assessment tasks following. These are marked simply as satisfactory or unsatisfactory and require you to lay out your work at the end of the class and then briefly discuss it with your group in an informal setting. Assessment 2 is essentially a curation and refinement of the work that you've been doing in your in-class and out-of-class tasks. Assessment 2 is about showing us a suite of early ideas. And from assessment 2 onwards, we start to converge those ideas into one. So assessment 3, which is worth 35%, is an opportunity for you to show us a single idea that focuses on form. So we're not looking at materiality or detail or loose furniture or fixtures. We are looking at your ability to propose volume, threshold, sequence, and to look at natural light in response to the project brief. Assessment 4 then, also worth 35%, is about resolution. So in this assessment, we'd like you to showcase your ideas and your spatial propositions from really broad macro scale down to micro scale. And the big shift from form to resolution is that we really start to get a detailed understanding of materials, artificial light, natural light, furniture and fittings in addition to form. So if we have a look at how this plays out across the term, you will see that the in-class workshops are really a way of contributing towards and developing Assessment 2, Early Ideas, Assessment 3, Form, and Assessment 4, Resolution. In the beginning of the term, they're a way of generating and promoting kind of ideation. And later in the term, they kind of prod your ideas and they challenge those ideas and hopefully move them in different directions. The in-class tasks are outlined on the right-hand column that you can see on your slide. Each week, what we'll focus on is researching and making in response to that research. You'll have to research at home and you'll be guided through this with a series of observational tasks, texts to read, and precedents to analyse. These will focus on different aspects of the project. From week 1 to week 3, you'll examine in detail both the user, so Ushio and Noriko, and the site. And there'll be different ways that we get you to engage with these two components of the brief. You'll then gather these ideas and present them for week 4 assessment, Early Ideas. Weeks 5, 6 and 7, you'll look at research and making with regards to program. Again, we'll guide you through a series of texts and precedents that examine micro-dwelling, grocer, and the urban intervention. Each assessment is marked based on the following criteria. These criteria allow us to assess how well you're engaging with the course learning outcomes. These outcomes revolve largely around idea-led design generation, your ability to manipulate space and materiality for enclosure, visual and verbal communication. The first criteria is engagement. How well have you engaged with your peers and tutor in discussing, reflecting, and responding to feedback on your design proposal? The second criteria is the inquiry process. The inquiry process deals with how well you have researched and experimented with your design idea and making. The third criteria is the design idea itself. The fourth criteria is form. This looks at volume, scale, threshold, and sequence. The fifth criteria is materiality. This looks at pattern, texture, color, finish, and format, as well as the relationship between materiality and light. Form, materiality, and design idea are all assessed based on how well these elements have responded to the design brief. The design brief, if we remember, refers to the user, so Ushio and Noriko, the program, so a micro apartment, an urban intervention, and a Japanese grocer, and the site. So we'd like to see how you have explored the way that your design idea, your form, and your use of materiality responds to the brief in terms of those three elements. The sixth criteria looks at visual communication. How clearly and evocatively have you communicated your scheme to the audience? The seventh criteria is verbal communication. Again, how clearly and evocatively have you communicated your scheme using words? The course also consists of non-accessible tasks. These non-accessible tasks are crucial for your development of the core learning outcomes and of supporting the assessment tasks and your progression through the course. These include weekly analysis of texts and precedents. This will help bolster your research and your design idea. A media gallery where students will be able to upload images of their work and the work will be viewable by the whole year cohort. Self-reflection, where you're asked to reflect on the work that you've done and the work that you will do in preparation for assessment tasks. And peer review, where you're asked to reflect on the work of your peers. It's important to note that this course is not just about the end product. In the early years of the BIA program, we place a lot of emphasis on process. Process means how are you dealing with research? How are you delving into research avenues? What are you engaging with? How are you experimenting with making in terms of drawing, modeling, diagramming, image making to help develop your design proposal? We try to mark both process and product throughout this course, and this is reflected in the assessment criteria. It's important to remember that feedback comes in many different forms. It can come from your tutor, it can come from the course convener, it can come from your peers, and it can come from yourself through self-reflection. It can come in many different formats. So we give written feedback forms, we do ticks on a rubric, and that rubric has both a numerical and a qualitative value, which is always outlined in the assessment criteria. Feedback can come from verbal discussion. Feedback can also come from Q&A responses and announcements on Moodle. And each week I try to incorporate feedback into the lecture. This year that will be in the online lectures. If you need more feedback, please do let us know. We are also always welcome to your feedback. This course really aims to be agile and responsive to student needs by creating an open dialogue between students and staff. My ears are always open if there are parts of the course that are not working, parts of the course that you think are working particularly well, or elements that might need a small change throughout this semester. Please do come, approach me in class, approach me in the lecture, email me, talk to your tutor. We're really open ears for these kind of suggestions. I also encourage you to participate in the My Experience survey at the end of the course so that we can improve the course and your future courses based on your very valuable feedback.